So how has your American election been going in Australia?
It's been wonderful, one good.
You know the
Uh,
um the
mm,
the community gif of Donald Glover walking in the room with the pizzas and he's smiling and then the smile
yeah,
crashes and the whole room's on fire and everyone's going crazy. I got
yeah,
to use that gif and mean it the other day.
nice. Yeah,
Tuesday, Lonnie and I watched 8 hours of Dark.
8 hours.
Yeah, we watched all of season 3 of Dark, which
Whoa.
is a German Netflix show.
Uh huh.
That's an hour apiece. And we watched 8 episodes
Okay.
of it, and um, we're both kind of. I am like she gets stressed out in a very different way than I get stressed out, but we both get stressed out. It's just like it manifests differently, and especially around this particular topic or this like politics and all of that. So we decided, all right, I'm gonna take. I published Safe on Sunday. You were with me at
Hmm.
4 in the morning here,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then took Monday off, just lounging, being tired, and then Tuesday I took off and watched that with her.
Hmm.
Um, which I don't know if it was our best decision, because it's this
I
like show about how there's nothing but fate and everything is it's very dark, it's very
Yeah.
German.
Dark, huh?
Yeah,
It's
yes,
dark.
the name fits.
Yeah.
uh
There was one time I watched an entire season of Game of Thrones with a friend of mine, and it was we started,
yeah,
I don't know, probably in the afternoon and finished at like 6 o'clock in the morning. My friend just kept going, oh, one
well,
more. And
one more.
then we kept going, and then he's just like, oh, we've only got a couple left. Let's keep going. I'm like, dude, I need to go to bed. He's like, no, we can do it. We can do it. So we did it, but the last couple of episodes were just a blur. I was
Yeah,
just watching pretty colors.
we
That's all
we
I was doing.
it was the time was fine. We got to 2 episodes left, and I was like, "Look, if we watch one more, we're finishing the show. If we watch seven, we're not going to go to bed having watched 7 episodes of this show, and then be like,
That's
oh,
fair.
why don't we stop there? I think that's enough." So we watched all 8, and it's I'll talk a little bit about it, and she and I had a fun conversation about it today, so I think I'll talk a little bit about it in a minute.
Yeah.
The non-spoiler review, but and then we're gonna have her on for a spoiler conversation because you haven't seen it. So
No, I
me
haven't.
rambling on about 3 seasons of a very complicated. You mentioned Game of Thrones. I think that the family trees in Dark
Oh,
may be more complicated than the ones in Game of
what?
Thrones. Yeah.
Really? Because Game of Thrones, seriously, I had no idea who Stannis was and how he fit into the whole thing for
Yeah.
like three seasons. No idea.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
more.
and not only that, but the plot of the show. By the way, hello everyone. Welcome to the podcast of the nerds. I'm Ian.
And my name is Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Ian.
It's
Don't say that too loud at an airport.
hi. Hello, Jack.
Hi. How you doing, man?
Um, Jack and me often. Let's see. I was trying to think of other ways, like things that I could say with your name.
Don't you threaten me with a good time?
Um,
Um.
So today,
Yeah.
we didn't get a podcast recorded on Monday. So because Sunday I stayed up.
But we didn't.
You got 2 readings done that we haven't delivered. Maybe we'll do those tonight. And
They
then
are uploaded, but
yeah,
they haven't been
yeah,
delivered yet.
2 Patreon readings done. We did Do Not Go Gentle Into That Dark Night, and what was the other one?
It was litany of fear from Dune.
From Dune, yeah. We need to get
Yeah.
those delivered, but we did those.
I'm actually pretty stoked with how both of them came out. They were really good.
Yeah.
The way those work for anyone who doesn't know, Ian basically lets me do whatever the hell I want with them. I have full creative freedom. Sometimes you have a suggestion, but it's kind of up to me whether or not I.
Especially if you're
but-
stuck. If it's very classic, then I tend to do it
Yeah.
and just edit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although you
We tend
did,
to
what was the horror one?
Oh, Charteville
Chat
by
Duvel.
Marie de France.
That was very classic.
And I was amazed with how that one came out. I was very happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two, they're pretty and they're cool.
Partly I feel like if I can make, like whether or not you feel like you're getting something out of the language, if I can make you feel things, then
That's exactly what you did in what is it? The Rage Against the
Do not
Dying
go
of
gentle into the
light.
dark night.
That's
Yeah.
dude. The last stanza or whatever you call it, you made me feel some shit. Oh my god.
Well, if I can do that when the language, like with classic language and stuff, then anyway, I love those projects. Those are a lot of fun. But we
Yeah,
did that,
they're
and then the election was. I was toast Monday. The election.
The election? Oh,
is on
there an election
Tuesday.
going
Yes, there's
on?
apparently, but we're not going to talk about it.
Is that what all the dumpster fires all over the internet are about? I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known.
Yeah. Is it possible that Facebook and Twitter are ruining the world? Is it possible?
I think it's just us, like not like you and I personally, but
Us
us
as a
collective.
species?
Yeah, I think we're ruining the world.
Well,
There's
yeah.
still
I
hope.
mean,
There's still hope, my friend.
yeah. But I'm just thinking about like, well, I don't know. I don't want to go that dark because we're going to talk about the show. But I just
Yes.
the more I block myself from social media for the day, the better I feel. Even on days when there's not a thing going on. I use Cold Turkey, which is a very sticky internet blocker that you can install on your computer and say, don't let me access these websites for
Yep.
2 hours. And short of uninstalling the whole thing and like fixing your host file and stuff like that, it's like which is such a pain, and you have to spend so much
Yeah.
time thinking like, really, I'm doing this so that I can surf Twitter, really, that I just don't do it. But I find
just
that
wait, yeah.
the more I block myself off of social media, the better I feel, the more I get done, the more I spend time with the family, or go and play a game instead of just, the past 2 days, I'm trying to be patient with myself because these are kind of unprecedented. I mean, it's unprecedented, right? Like these
Yeah,
are
I mean-
unprecedented times.
I've been paying attention to the events that we're not going to
That we're not going to talk about, yeah.
I've been paying pretty close attention to it. I have a friend who's very into U.S. politics, and he and I have been going back and forth about it. But you know, as an Australian, and he lives in Norway, so he has it too. Like, there is a level of disconnect, kind of. Look, the U.S. I mean, this might be a controversial thing to say, but the U.S. like, who is in the White House kind of affects the entire world, really. Like,
It
the
does.
US is the modern Rome.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not an American, so it doesn't affect me in the same way that it affects you. So I can imagine that it's a much more stressful situation for you.
Yeah, it's not super fun. But anyway, I don't think I would have anything to add to a conversation about the election other than
Same.
sweating, panting, and making high squeaky noises while
Let's
I
just-
cradle myself.
Let's just love ourselves and love each other.
Yeah,
and,
so
you know,
when we talked the last time about doing some shortened version of the podcast, which is what this is, which I figured is just like, I threw some things in here about what I've been up to this week. I don't really care. Like I just want to have a conversation with you
Right.
and by
Yeah.
association them, and just
and this
chat.
won't be,
We won't do a
this
segment.
Won't be. Yeah. Like, and this won't be a regular occurrence.
Right.
It's just that we've both got some stuff going on, and there's the election. I've had a rough couple of days, so we're just kind of taking it easy, but we still wanted to put something out for
Yeah.
you guys to
I'll do.
listen to and check out.
There will be so it's just a quick chat about the week, and there will be a reading. The time codes for all of that, as ever, are in the show notes down below. So yeah, I'll start. Oh yeah. So I'll just real quick about Dark. So Dark, Jack, I don't know if you'd like it. It's very,
Really?
yeah.
Really? Because from everything you've told me, I've been super keen to check it out.
So it's the difference between Dark and Game of Thrones, right? Other than genre and plot and time period and pretty much everything. When we were talking about like the families, right? The thing about Dark versus Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones like has incredible characters that are clear and either hilarious or intimidating or disgusting or whatever, but they're very captivating characters.
Right. Even the bad guys like Cersei and Joffrey were still very like captivating and fun to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Game of Thrones did character extremely well.
yeah, and Dark. So this is something Lonnie and I watched together. We have a list of 45 shows, of course, in a spreadsheet because I am me, and there are 45 shows that have been recommended to us by fans. I used to keep a list of absolutely everything people recommended that I watched. That got up to like 250 things at one point. But she and I just kind of went through and collated things of like, some people have asked me to watch that, some people have asked her to watch that, so forth. So 45 items. We got 3 episodes into the 100, and both tapped out.
Okay, yeah. See, I've heard, I don't know, like, people seem to be split down the middle about that show. I don't know a damn thing about it. The only thing I know is there is an Australian actress in it, I think. That's all I know. People seem to love it or hate it.
It's a CW show.
Okay. That doesn't really mean a lot to me. But
And CW doing Hunger Games, essentially. So, apocalypse happened on Earth. There's a single orbiting space platform where the remnants of humanity live. Any crime on the space station is a death sentence, shoplifting, anything like that, unless you're underage. And then all of those people ended up in a prison, and you find out in the pilot episode that they're being sent down to Earth as test cases for repopulating the planet.
Okay.
So
that sounds like an amazing concept.
Yeah, all 100 are, which rapidly becomes like the 97 and then the 88. I was like, well, are they going to change the name of the show? Because they were the 100 for about 10 minutes of the show. Okay. All of the 100 are teenagers. They're all, none of them they look like they've spent any time roughing it. Everyone is like glammed out and
they're all pretty and clean,
very pretty,
airbrushed and all that.
There's lots of gratuitous shots of people in their underwear. In 3 episodes, there were lots of gratuitous, and every time it happens where 4 boys are just standing there like, whoa, and then the camera pans down to a girl's butt as she's taking her jumpsuit off.
Meatballs or Porkies or something.
Right.
Remember those comedies from the 80s that were just an excuse for women to get naked?
Well, I mean, that was an entire thing built on that premise, but that was everywhere. Everywhere. Yeah. Like, serious movies had men watching women, whatever. Which is fine. It's just like, it's such a tired, old, boring trope.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot these days in shows that try to take themselves seriously. You know?
Yeah. And then I'm going to spoil something that's in the 3rd episode of the 1st season. We were having fun making fun of it.
That's fine. I'm probably never going to watch it.
Yeah.
So
well, if you're gonna watch the 100 skip ahead by about a minute. We were having fun making fun of it. That was the way we were enjoying it. I was like, oh, this is a good time. Because it's so tropey. It's just tropes. There were no good lines. Somehow, imagine 3 episodes with not a single memorable line. How is that possible? 3 hours of your show and not one line that I was like, wow, that's a pretty good line. I love the concept. The science fiction concept is fun. It's interesting. I mean, they're doing CW Hunger Games. But then at the end of the 3rd episode, a little girl kills the only black character on the show on the planet. Lonnie and I were both like,
of course.
yeah, we're done.
Jesus. Yeah, no, that's fair.
At that point, it was just, really? I mean,
right.
No, Bury Your Gaze in season 6, I suppose that's that's awful, but if you did it in the 3rd episode, one of those like tired, boring tropes, that we should just know better now, right? And I was like, nah, I'm done. There is the kid had a father on the station, but all of the interesting like goings on were the kids on the planet and all of that, and I was just like, ugh. No, thank you. Just the principle of it. The two of us, it was just not fun to make fun of it anymore.
I get it.
So after that, we moved on. Sorry, that was I didn't mean to get into the 100, but I'm sure it gets better. There are a lot of people who I consulted Twitter about it, and I said, "Where's the hook point?" And there's a lot of people that said it gets better in season 3, but then it gets terrible. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch 7 seasons where I know it peaks at a particular point.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that the ending sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
So we rolled a new one, ended up on Dark. So Dark is a German show about a small town in Germany called Winden. And 33 years before the show began, there were a series of missing children and unidentified bodies of children that were found. And then children start to disappear in 2017 or whenever the show begins in this small town of Winden. And so ostensibly, in the beginning of the show, it feels like it's going to be like The Fall, or even kind of a Hannibal, but not really a Hannibal, which is more of a bad guy story rather than a mystery. But it's Silence of the Lambs kind of thing, like that kind of whodunit, what's going on, all of this, and then strange things start to happen. Go ahead.
Okay. You don't think I would like that, or were you being sarcastic? Because that sounds right up my alley.
So it's very captivating. It's very dry, or rather, it's a very, very slow burn.
I can handle that.
I'm not saying This is not a judgment of you in saying whether or not. Fine. Yeah, I can't exactly put my finger on why it didn't scream Jack to me. Okay. But it becomes so complex and so driven by the structure of the families and their relationships and their interactions and all of that, that it's
lots of machinations. And
it becomes kind of there's not a I drink wine and I know things.
Yeah. Okay.
What's his name?
Right. Tyrion.
Yeah, there's not a Tyrion.
Yeah,
it is so unfunny, which is fine. But in 30 episodes of the show, or whatever it was, 3 seasons, we counted 2 parts. There was one funny line and another part where we laughed. In 3 seasons of this show, no relief, no nothing. There are characters that I feel are written bizarrely as to be hated immediately, and then you hate them even more. And then I
Okay.
think the show thinks that we want them redeemed or saved. Ulrich, if you've watched the show, Ulrich is an example of a character I never liked. And then it's been so much time on his struggles. And I'm like, but I don't even like this guy.
That's
I
very
feel for
reminiscent
him.
of. Reminds me of Jamie Lannister, kind of.
Well,
He sort of had a.
Jamie, the hot
He
tub
sort of
scene.
had. Yeah, he had a redemption arc that just got thrown away.
Well, yeah,
in, like,
yeah,
half an episode.
yeah. Um, and it becomes so much I think the third season, one of the mistakes we made with the third season was binging it because it's so technical about
Okay.
the families and discovering how this person was related to this person and so forth. And it also showed us information that it told us earlier, and I was like, I didn't need an hour of you doing this episode about this
That could
character
get-
having this relationship with this woman.
That could get really confusing in a binging situation, or just like overwhelming. I
It
guess,
yeah,
is
it just
more the
got
word.
it just got tiring. I don't think it was
Yeah.
meant, but we also noticed that if we waited too long between watching episodes, that we started going, "Who the hell is that person?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
going? Wait,
I've experienced
how
that
are
in
they
a lot of
related?"
shows.
And the show eventually starts giving us flashbacks to the characters that were around 30 years ago when those other events started to happen. And then there's things that you have to track about those characters at that time and their relationships 30 years ago. And then it starts editing scenes back and forth. This scene will be in 1980s. This scene will be in modern times.
Right.
And they
That can
do
be tough.
the one I was so with it for seasons 1 and 2 because it's beautifully shot. The performances are all wonderful. I do love the fiction. I just started to not enjoy the way it was told, and there were just too many characters. At some point, I was like, this is unnecessary. Like, if we had spent more time getting to know Jonas and Marta, who were, at various points, the main characters of the story, if we had spent more time on them, their hopes, their dreams, whatever, then I would have been more invested. I would have been more
Yeah.
with it. Like, it just was so driven by its plot.
You and I are very similar in that we love our character-driven pieces. And
Yeah. So while I think the show, I would say I like the show. I do. I like the show. I think it didn't lose me in terms of not knowing what was going on. It just lost my interest in that third season where I was like,
Okay.
come on, just,
And it didn't pick up again after the third season?
no, it does have some interesting things to say about, I think if I look deeper into it, there's some philosophical stuff that could be really fun. Like, I love anything that deals with fate. There's a philosophical school of thought that says fate doesn't exist, and it's very hard to argue against, or rather, that there is nothing but fate, that everything is predestined. Where, if you're making a decision between, a chicken salad or yogurt, and you decide on the chicken salad. If we rewound time by 30 or 40 seconds and didn't change a thing, you would pick that chicken salad every single time.
Right, yeah.
You would
Well, because
weigh it, you would think about it, you would wonder at it, and then you would do those same things every single time. Without any awareness of the rewind, nothing changes.
True. But that's
And
kind
is
of
that
a
not
cop-out
fate?
in that you're always going to make one choice, make one decision over another, and
Right.
that's so you can always turn around and say, well, that was fate because that's what happened. But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, there's there's a principle in philosophy that I can't remember the name of, which is that there has to be some circumstances whereby a philosophical premise it can be false. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. If, for instance,
Right.
it's the philosophy that everything we do is for selfish reasons. If you donate to charity, it was because you wanted to feel better about
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah,
and
gives you a good feeling.
you believe
Yeah.
that the person
I've
with
heard
good
that
character
before.
would. Yeah. The problem with that philosophy is that there are no circumstances where it loses the argument. Therefore, it's kind of irrelevant.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's completely impossible to not act selfishly, then
And
it's not a relevant conversation to have.
and
I did
also
that
like
terrible justice. I haven't done college philosophy in 20 years,
um
so
and but I still think like the outcome remains the same because even like altruism for selfish reasons for selfish reasons is still altruism. You're still doing something good. So
sure. Oh, yeah, whether or not you were doing it to make yourself feel good, it's still
yeah, but like
yeah. And I think
and also like knowing you made a difference to someone or something is still a good feeling, and that should feel good.
yeah.
That's okay.
And the thing about the idea of that everything is fated is that even knowing that it doesn't change the fact that even if your path is a straight line, you still have to walk it. You still
Right,
have to
yeah.
spend the time thinking about, do I want the chicken salad or the yogurt?
Sure.
That's part of the path to get there. And the knowledge of the fact that it's a straight line doesn't change the fact that you have to go through it. So are you going to sit down? Are you going to stop? I mean, it's to me there's actually some nice clarity in that idea of
I think I subscribe to the Sarah Connor school of philosophy in that no fate for what we make.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very strong-willed in that way, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Like the universe runs rife with chaos. There is no intrinsic meaning.
Well, there's not,
there's
but
like
yeah.
philosophical meaning, sure, if you want to delve into that, but like like I picked up my phone right now because I chose to. I wanted to do it, so I did it. There was no machination that made me do that, but yeah.
Sure, but if we rewound it 20 times, you'd pick up that phone 20 times in a row.
Yeah,
is
that's
is
true.
the
That's true.
idea.
Yeah.
Because,
There's also this like I don't know whether you call it a paradox or something, but we consider ourselves like free thinking beings, but like and it's kind of like are we in control of ourselves or is our brain in control of what we do? You know what I mean? Like how do I explain this? So like well, it's like I picked my phone up, and in my mind, I chose to do that. But is it just my brain being the way it is? I'm doing a terrible
oh, I
job of,
butchered mine.
describing this. Yeah, I should look into it more, but it's interesting. It's more like the question is basically, are we really in control, or are our brains just the way that we are?
Sure.
Or the way that they are. Because like like people with mental illnesses may have like hallucinations and whatnot, and they're not necessarily in control of that, are they? So,
Well, and I've talked
I don't
about
know.
the two boys that I live with. One of them's a bulldozer, and the other one is a very sensitive, emotional kid. And there's no nurture justification for them being so distinctly different. One of them is stubborn and aggressive and wants to win, and they're both good kids. They're both good kids.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the other one, what do you mean I have to eat that? And he just feels that pain. Yeah. So how much is biological? I mean, there's a lot to it. But again, The thing about the fate
nature
being
versus nurture, I think they both have significance. Sorry, I cut you off there.
no, that's okay. The thing about fate being a straight line is that I think that anyone who gives that any consideration is ultimately going to use it in the way that they were predisposed to think about things
Right.
anyway. If you're a
Yeah,
nihilist, you're going to think about like, well, see, this is proof that why even
There's,
bother? Why try?
yeah, and
And
there's still no way to test it or prove it right or wrong because at the end of the day, what happens happens, and
right.
one could say it's fate and one could say it's not.
And I did the very Ian thing. It's like, well, you still got to make a choice. But it doesn't matter if you were always going to make the
Have a
same choice. You got to make that
You don't
choice.
have a good choice, but
Yeah.
you have a choice.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by it's utterly irrelevant. Is like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't have the capability to. Anyway, there's a lot of there are some of those considerations in Dark. I love when what it does very well. I can't talk about that because it's a spoiler.
Okay.
I'll save the rest of it for a spoiler conversation we're gonna do with Lonnie.
I really want to see it myself though now, so
Watch the
really
pilot.
check it out.
Watch the pilot. The first season is an incredibly slow burn. The second season was the perfect pace for me of plot and character, and then the third season is just way too plotty. There's a lot of people lie all the time on the show, and there was a point somewhere at the end of the second season, beginning of the third, where I was like, "Why are you listening to anything these people are saying anymore?" But it was because the pieces had to be in a specific location at a specific time, so forth. What about you? What have you been up to this week? I've got other things. We can go back to it.
Well, speaking of stuff that we've watched, I watched a few episodes of the X Files, which I know was a show that you
Have you
really
never
into, right?
seen the X Files?
Not really, no. So, so it started in the 90s, obviously. I think it started like early 90s. I was a kid at the time, and I was watching horrors and scary stuff and whatnot, but the X-Files, I just never really watched it. I saw an episode here and there. I vaguely recall something about a little kid and a balloon, and then like another one about like a cult in a barn. I don't know. These could be false memories
Yeah.
or things I'm
don't know.
attributing to something else.
Boris.
But what?
Boris, what episodes is he talking about? Okay,
Oh
go
yes,
ahead.
yeah, Boris, come on, help us, man. Help
Keeper
us.
of the Deeper Well.
But it's. I don't like to be negative. You know, I don't like to be mean, but like, David Duchovny's performance is so extra. Like,
What does that
have
mean?
you seen that? He's just really hamming it up, man. Like he's like, and like, you know that episode of The Simpsons that Mulder and Scully are on? It's the one where Mr. Burns, like they think there's like an alien, but it turns out it's Mr. Burns. And they sort of take the piss out of Mulder and Scully, but like Mulder in The Simpsons is basically Mulder in the TV show. Like he's so
That's interesting. Someone I was talking to recently said that they thought that Duchovny's performance was really poor, and I have not watched the show in probably 15 years. I should give it another try because I love that show. I would list it in top 5.
yeah. Like you've really hyped it up to me.
Are you on the
and
first season?
I've watched about 3 episodes, and here's the thing about David Duchovny. I don't know if it's a good or a bad performance yet. I'm hoping that maybe he's still like getting used to the character or something. But
That show
it's
doesn't
so-
get good until season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just it hasn't grabbed me yet. I don't dislike it, but it's just
There are more interesting episodes in the first season than like the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation or even of Buffy.
right.
But
Like
it's kind of campy and a little not great until season 2.
right. And what I've seen so far, like the episodes were good enough to hold my attention, but nothing spectacular just yet.
Yeah,
But,
it needs some time.
yeah, but it's it's okay.
I
It's okay.
think the first episode of that show, Squeeze. Have you gotten to Squeeze yet?
Which one's that? Vaguely.
The tight spaces guy.
Yeah, the guy gets through all the vents. And all
That
yeah.
guy was pretty. That guy was creepy.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was the most recent episode I saw. I think that was good. I
That's
did like that. That's probably
one
the
of
best
the
I've seen so far.
earliest. Yeah, that's one of the earliest good ones. I think
Yeah.
for me, where the show really starts to get good is an episode called Beyond the Sea, and then it picks up from there. Interesting thing about that show, it's very like Buffy in that it's one-offs with an arcing story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the
so far it's very
first.
episodical.
It's one of the earlier shows to do the big driving season arc, and that the famous thing about that show was, if you missed an episode, you'd tune in the week after and be like, "What the hell's going on? Who are the what?"
Right.
Um, That's a show where I loved the one-offs and generally hated the arc.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is
Okay, that's
usually pretty unusual
Yeah. Yeah.
for shows like that. I mean, Buffy has. I love both, so.
Yeah. Look, the one thing I will say about David Duchovny is that I'm still enjoying it, whether it's good or bad. I'm enjoying it because it's just so extra. It's so like out there. Pardon the pun.
They once they figure out their chemistry as characters, I think it really picks up. I mean, they are that's such an iconic duo in all fiction and all media. You know, you're the Scully. People know what that means without having seen the X-Files. So I mean that it's such an influential show on that level. I love that show.
Right, yeah. That's pretty much it in terms of stuff I've been watching. One thing I will say is you're going to talk about a video that you made fairly.
I did make a video.
Yeah, I also made the video, Ian.
Yeah, I liked your video better than mine. Make sure you put it in the show notes.
I will. I wish I had a ton to say about the writing process and the philosophy on it, but I don't. I made a silly, ridiculous scene where Angel smothers an old lady. Okay.
Well,
let me explain.
Yeah.
I can. We were doing a rewatch of Are You Now? Have You Ever? In preparation for the last Patreon hangout. And towards the end, this old lady who kind of screwed Angel over in the past,
Judy,
is like Judy. That's it. She's kind of like dying, and Angel lays her down in the bed, and she's like, "Can you ever forgive me?"
Yeah, and we're watching this with an audience of like, I don't know, 30 or 40 people. It's an emotional moment. There's a lot of like cry emoji in there, and Jack starts laughing.
I laughed and couldn't control myself. It got to the point where I had tears streaming from my eyes, and the reason that made me the reason I laughed is because I thought of that scene later on in the series where Angel attempts to smother Wesley with the pillow. So I start laughing, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, remember that scene with Wes and the pillow?" And it was just
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, somebody in the chat was like, "I have to see that and edit," and I'm like, "I'm gonna do it."
It turned out pretty clean.
Thanks, man.
There were some. Well, what I mean by that is like they had perfect cuts.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not me. It's not me.
Well, no, you did the work. I'm just saying it doesn't usually work out that cleanly.
Right. I thought I was going to have to spend some time on like piecing them together and making it fit well. Dude, I did it in like 2 minutes because it fit so well. Like it fit. Angel's even wearing the same kind of clothing. Like it just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got one bat suit basically.
True. Yeah. But I I really thought that I was going to have to spend some time messing with it and polishing it, but no, like I'm pretty sure it took longer to export than it did putting it together. And even though it's just a silly joke, it might be my favorite thing I've ever made. And yeah, I'll leave a link to it in the show notes, or if you follow me on Twitter, just scroll down a little bit. It's there. But you made a much more poignant and
Well,
important video. Why don't you tell us about that?
I don't know about important. I got the Firefly episode guide for Safe done. Jess and I did the script writing session a couple of weeks ago, and I have worked on it since. You know, in between panic attacks about that thing we're not going to talk about, and you know, there's always something. It's 2020.
Always.
The thing about getting any work done is you just have to go, there's always something.
Oh god, that's like the theme of this year.
Yeah, there's always something. There's always something.
Amen,
so, and I talked a little bit about some of the other things that I was dealing with on the last podcast. But as I said in the video, it was a weird episode guide to write. I've been working on this process of not being so miserable all the time.
That's often not easy to do.
It's
man.
not as easy as you think. Mostly to me, it's a matter of, you know, when you develop one way to get stuff done, it becomes what you know. You know, I know how to write an episode guide with or write any video with a lot of self-doubt and anxiety and frustration, and I know how to procrastinate and work myself up into, you know, this is not going to be, I should have got, and then once you do that enough, you're late enough in the process that then you can compound all of that with like,
Right.
It's now the video's late. Oh, I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm so frustrated, which then makes it worse and worse and worse.
A bigger wall, and yeah.
Yeah, but I noticed, but the interesting thing about the process is, unlike, I was a terrible student. I hadn't been diagnosed with ADD at that point, and it's, you know, when you grow up being told you're an underachiever or you're lazy or whatever, and you start to internalize those labels, those are dead ends.
Totally.
Those, if you start to self-apply those things, you will find at some point you need to undo that work in order to
believe it.
Yeah, in order to, because if you're an underachiever, it's like you're going to be dumping work into that void forever, because there's no point that's going to be enough to prove to you that you are not an underachiever. You just have to let that go. You just have to let go of that term. And the thing is, like, I'm someone who and the same with lazy. It's like the trick was, I finally realized, and I've talked about this before, is that laziness is relaxing. Laziness feels good. It's like I should mow the lawn, but I don't want to, so I'm just gonna lay here and watch some stuff. Procrastination is, I should be doing this thing. 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 I'll do it later. First, I'm gonna watch this other thing. And I don't know how other people procrastinate, but when I'm procrastinating, I'm doing whatever the thing. I'm playing Magic the Gathering, or I'm watching a YouTube video or whatever. And this whole time, I'm like, okay, after this video, after this video, after this video, after this video.
I think the only caveat to that I would add is that, like, laziness, yes, it's relaxing, but it always reaches a point where it becomes numbing, and then
it's
like,
meaningless,
extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's meaningless.
Someone who feels like he has wasted a portion of his life, it's not always relaxing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not fulfilling, certainly.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, in the short term, and sometimes you're both procrastinating and being lazy. But the thing is, like, as someone who has dealt with all that internalized stuff, or is in the process of dealing with all of that internalized stuff, like, I guess at a job with a boss and deadlines and all of that, I could be like, well, I felt like usually suffered serious cases of imposter syndrome at most of the jobs that I've ever had. I worked for 7 years at LinkedIn.
And
Formerly,
the difference is there is you have someone to answer to.
yeah, or
So
6 years at
that's a
Linda.com.
driving
That's the
force.
thing is like if you're someone who deals with all of that internalized nonsense the way I do, like it it fights for its existence. It fights reality. Like despite the fact that of course I want to feel better, of course I want to be self-actualized. I want to like myself. I want to be proud. I want all of those things, of course. But those self-hating infections fight for their existence. And the way they do that is your boss says, great work on this thing. And you think, well, Abby was the one who really got a lot of that done. And, oh, I got away with one there. He hasn't seen the piece of shit that I really am. I got away with it. And you're constantly,
Boy, I know that feeling.
once you internalize those terms and all of that, it's so much work to get that done. But the thing of it is, like with the video content, this whole process with the channel, it's very hard to give credit to anyone else. If the video's good, I did it. If the video's bad, I did it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so there are exceptions because I have inspirations, I have sources, there's Mark's book, there's the show itself, there's some, so like I'm still good at the way this starts to turn is I started to accept like, well, I'm funny, right?
Right.
That video people just liked because it had the red arrows in it. I could put a red arrow on anyone's chest. I didn't say anything else. And then, but I'm funny. And then you start to go, but people love like the conclusions and like the gathering together of thoughts. I'm like, well, it's a little manipulative with the music and the voice and the performance and all of this but then it goes on and it happens enough times that you start to go, okay, maybe some of the conclusions are good. And slowly, in the 6 or 7 years of doing this, I've started to accept like, okay, I do some good work. I do some good work.
Right. I would honestly say that most of my favorite moments from their guides of stuff that then have come from you, and some of the most beautiful things have come from you. Like that Wesley intro, holy shit, that will stay with me forever. And that was all you.
Well, the thing is, like, we're just talking about these mechanisms. It's like there are lots of ways to deflect that kind of feedback.
Sure.
There are lots of ways to do all that. But on a long enough timeline, I've started to accept, like, okay, some of the work's good, right? And that is filtering backwards into the writing process, where the writing process is the most confronting part of the process.
Yeah,
because
it's the process you struggle with the most, because
yeah,
the edit, you've got that down to like a science now. Well, not a science, but it's something you're very comfortable editing.
and I'm much faster than I used to be and all of that. But the writing process, which has been the thing that has held this up this entire time, has been a bear to work on because it's the most confronting space. It's, do I have any ideas? Do I have anything to say? Do I have this? Like, it's the biggest space of self-doubt. There are opportunities for self-doubt all along the way, but there's a huge mass of them in the writing process, and so you get these I just get these big spurts of procrastination and resistance and whatever, and then that cycle we talked about before. But now that things have gone on, it's specifically this year that I've kind of been tackling this, where you know, Fool for Love was kind of the worst example of me freaking out during the writing process. But I was thinking, like, okay, why am I making myself miserable all the time? I chose to do this. I chose to do this thing, and I think I'm pretty good at it. Why do I spend weeks suffering and hating this and hating myself and feeling anxious and all of this? Why do I do that? Like, I've chosen to do the channel. I've chosen to do this full time, but I don't want to suffer through it constantly. So how can we do this differently? And then ever since Fool for Love, it's been like less and less and less
Yeah, you've
stressful.
been breezing through it
Yeah,
for the most
where
part.
I feel like the safe video is okay. There's some entertaining bits in it. I had some fun with the montages, and I think the conclusion distills something that may not be intended, but I think it's in the text. It's textual, you know.
Um, One thing I will say though about Fool for Love is that even though you had all those struggles, I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, you got through it pretty quickly though. Like I don't think you
I've been
spent
on a one
too
video.
long on that one.
I've been on the. It was a long time. I've been on a one video per
Was it?
month. Yeah, up to 5 weeks,
Okay.
down to 4 weeks, so forth.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but I made it. It was really with that video where I said, "Okay, let's go through this and let's pay attention." It's partially because dating, you know, being single and self-employed and all of this, I could just be terrible. I could like be anxious and self-hating and depressed or whatever. But when you're, dating and someone wants you to be in a conversation with them during the day or to see
You have
them
to
or
be
whatever,
present.
yeah, well, it behooves you to not be that all the time. That like
Right. Yeah, I get it.
stressed
Yeah.
out and suffering or whatever. And so I was like, okay, well let me work on this. And this last one, Safe, ordinarily, I think I would have spent most of the time being like, I don't have anything to say about this one. The video's not going to be good. I don't have anything to say about this one. The video's not going to be good. But I just didn't do that this time. I was like, oh, I don't really have much to say about this one. So that's kind of what the video is about. Is there are a lot of ideas here, but they don't really come together into anything that I feel is super of value. I made one just full on mistake in the video, which is that why would Mal talk this way, especially to Kaylee? And in Shindig, he was an outright jerk to her. I don't think it changes the point that I was trying to make with that line or talking about that scene. But yes, Mal would definitely talk that way to Kaylee, and that was silly of me to miss that. But otherwise, I think the video is pretty clean. And so I kind of got through the whole thing without going banana pants about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
You showed me parts of it. I don't watch the Firefly guide because
You haven't watched Firefly?
I still haven't watched Firefly. I know. Give me all the shit in the comments that you want. I deserve it because I've been talking about it for such a long time now. But if it's any consolation, I've seen the pilot like 3 times now.
It's
But
not.
yeah, no, it's. But yeah, no, that video was very clean from what I saw, and
Yeah.
I really liked the outro.
Yeah.
The outro was cool.
Well, the funny thing is, I used to feel like doing the outros with the music and the voice and all of that was a cheat. I don't anymore, but I also built the
Good.
whole Firefly series. The format has that outro by default
Yeah.
in every video. So I was just like, okay,
Pretty
fine.
much.
It's just going to be here every time.
And pretty much everything has a formula for the most part, and there's nothing wrong
True.
with that, dude.
Well, and
Nothing wrong with
I
it.
have at times tried to write episode guides and deliberately avoided using that. Where I said I want to make something that's affecting, without the use of music and all of that, just to see if I can do that. And then I did it, and I was like, okay, fine. But it's still more fun and better with the music. So why would I not use all the tools available to me if I trust what I'm saying and the conclusion that I'm drawing, and I believe there are ideas here? Why would I not create the best, most aesthetically pleasing and entertaining version of that?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Anyway, I didn't mean to go that deep into all of that. The point of that is to say that while I feel like I've made progress on making the writing process less miserable for myself. That really doesn't have anything to do with the audience or YouTube subscribers, because videos have still been on a month pace. Excuse me. So this week I'm trying something I've not tried before, I have tried before, but it was before I started making progress with chilling out about the writing process. And that is stacking two episodes at the same time. So I'm actually going to start the outline for the Buffy and Angel episodes together. I'm going to finish both scripts together, and then I'm going to record both of them, and then edit. So I'm gonna, instead of switching gears so much, when I'm in the writing flow, I'm going to stay in the writing flow and see if I can just stack two episodes together, because writing takes the most amount of time. So if this pays dividends, it's still going to be a month until the next video, but then the video after that should be here sooner.
Also, we talked about you might be passing off one of the audios to me to edit. And
you can do a pre-edit.
Yeah, which we have attempted in the past, but we didn't quite. I don't know. Figure out
just once, because I've never mastered my own writing process is the problem.
Yeah.
So we'll see, and I don't know. Yeah, and it's
all an experiment. Man.
It's all an experiment, and if the the only actual failure is to give up or to not try. So I'm trying something new, and at some point it won't be 2020 anymore, and hopefully 2021 is just more chill. Can we just be chill? 2021? Can we just be chill? 2021,
it's not
please.
that I disagree. I don't disagree. It's just that I've been seeing, especially in terms of COVID, I've been seeing people say, "Oh, I can't wait for this year to be over." But at midnight on the 1st of January, it's not like COVID's gonna be like,
no.
"All right, guys, I'm out. It's been fun. I'll see you next time." That's not gonna happen. I think, but I don't want to be a pessimistic.
No. It's. I mean, if it has to be the new normal, then okay. Can it be normal, please? Can we start?
But
all just start wearing masks.
Everybody's had an awful year. Everybody has, and whether it's COVID or personal stuff, I've had a lot of downs, but I've also had a couple of ups. So that's that's good, I guess.
But we'll see. And the thing of it is, however 2021 goes, my only solution to anxiety is to do more stuff. Keep trying to work. Keep trying to, keep my life in motion, because the more sedentary I am, the more depressed I get, the more entrenched in those old self-hating, well-traveled ways I get, where I'm just like, ugh. So this is my only solution I've ever really found to that, is just keep moving.
Yeah.
Go and get the damn rock.
And the thing is too, though, you and I have been joking, privately and on the podcast, how it's the apocalypse, blah 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 blah. But it's not. It's not. At some point, this is going to end, because it has to. We just gotta keeping power eyes on the prize and just, I don't know, get through it however the hell we can, you know.
Yeah, we as a species have been through worse. It doesn't
Oh, much
it doesn't
worse.
diminish the suffering that we're going through now, but it's just
Absolutely not.
important to not lose hope and to
Yeah.
just keep putting one foot in front of the other. The only antidote to anxiety is action,
Amen,
not
brother.
chaos. Measured action, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't go and, like, I don't know, set your living room on fire because, hey, why not? No, don't do that.
Yeah, so I Monday, Tuesday, I developed a nice little apathetic funk that stuck with me through today, and then right around dinner time, I snapped out of it, and suddenly this huge amount of energy came on, and I was like, okay, I have to do something, which is
Yeah, 'cause
here we are.
yeah, we didn't really like. I knew we were gonna try and do something this week. We were meant to do it earlier in the week, but stuff just happened. But yeah, you were just like you sent me a message. You were just like yo in capital letters, and I'm like, here we go. And you were just full of energy, and you're like, let's record, and I'm like, sure, why not?
And are we not both better for it?
I definitely think so. I'm in a much better mood than I was.
Yeah.
You know, it feels good to actually be doing something. Yeah.
Well,
But
before we go to the reading, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
yeah, a little bit.
Hit me.
I've well, you know about this, but the audience doesn't. You know, lately I've been feeling a little stagnant. And the last couple of days have been kind of rough. But I think day or two ago, I don't remember what is time.
Yeah. How do it do?
Yeah, I was sitting here in my apartment, just kind of losing my mind, and I blew a fuse, man. Something broke, and I was just like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out. So I left my apartment with my hand sanitizer and my face mask, and I just went anywhere. I didn't have a destination. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew that it was 27 degrees Celsius outside. The sun was shining, and I wanted that all over me.
Yes.
I wanted to be in it and amongst it.
I wanted to bathe in the light and let it fill me up.
Yes, exactly. So I started wandering around a bit, and then I found myself in this area in Melbourne called Docklands. It's just a nice little waterfront area, and there's some like ritzy restaurants around and stuff. And I came across this nice little Asian restaurant with an outdoor dining area, and I just thought, fuck it, I'm gonna get some food. And I ordered a meal, and I sat there in the sun, eating a meal, and it's been such a long time since I've done anything like that, and dude, it was like I was so just happy and just like it just felt good to be doing something normal.
Yeah.
And even though maybe it was risky or whatever, I don't know. I wasn't breaking any rules of restrictions. I was within. I think we now have a 25-kilometer radius that we can venture out of our home. So I was within all of that. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but just because I'm high risk, I gotta be careful.
Of course.
But the thing is, dude, it's just we human beings. We have to do human things sometimes, and that was worth it. Whatever happens, I would not take that experience back from the world. It was amazing.
Yeah, a little of that in reason. I feel that way whenever it's that same experience of seeing another person in person this year.
Right.
You know, my friend Carl and I are very physical men, and got to see him for the first time this year, and just picked him up. You know, he's like 6'2", and then he just sat next to me and just rubbed the back of my head, and I could just feel the endorphins flowing through me of like, oh my god, it feels so nice to be touched by a person.
Physical affection is one thing I've missed. But and the meal was amazing. It was amazing. It was like this chicken and rice, and there was like an egg on it. It was mwah.
I don't do enough to combat. I mean, I've worked from home for 9 years, and I'm something of a shut-in anyway. So I know that I don't do enough to combat cabin fever, which is a real
Right.
thing.
Oh yeah, very
And I
real.
don't always know I'm suffering from cabin fever. It's kind of like I've been doing an exercise push towards the end of the year, doing an hour a day of the climb, beach saber, and the boxing game. But I do it with 5 pound weights on my arms, so
Right.
my shoulders are spent. I'm just drenched
Yeah.
in sweat. But I a lot of times, I've talked about this before. I think old me that looked at his body as transport for his head would just be like, man, I feel glum. And I don't know why. I need to figure out, why do I feel glum? I need to
Right.
intellectualize it and understand. Now it's like I go and work out for an hour and I feel amazing. I'm like, that used to feel like
Right.
cheating. Like the
Right.
endorphins or whatever felt like cheating. But then I'm like, wait a second. No, I'm a person. This is my
Yeah.
body.
And you're taking care of yourself. You
Yes.
know.
Yes. Our
Um.
bodies want us to use them and get sunshine and
Yeah.
do these things. And
But
I
yeah.
treat it like an old car that's been dead. Well, that's an old Louis C.K. routine.
Hmm.
It's got bees in it. An old car in the front lawn is how I treat my body. Like 4 flat
Oh.
tires, and I haven't had an oil change in forever. Um, yeah, I'm kind of that way. Anyway, trying to get better about it. And we're
That's
doing New
good.
Year's resolutions this year.
W- You and me?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
and by
cool. First I've heard,
association,
but
the
sure.
audience.
Yeah, okay. Oh crap, you're gonna make me think about stuff again. Damn it.
Accountabilities.
Um, I resolved to not to um.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Cool. I got time. I
And
got
just to make
time.
you feel better, I'm gonna start by summing up how well I did with the New Year's resolutions I made to start this year, and they have not
Yeah.
gone. They have not gone well.
Did I make any
You
resolutions?
didn't.
I
I
don't
did. That
remember. Okay.
podcast was a
Okay.
solo thing.
Thank
Yeah,
God. Because I didn't do shit. I can tell you right now.
yeah. This was the podcast was a solo affair for a little while there, and one of the things I did
I've
was New Year's resolutions check-ins.
I've done some stuff this year that's been good though. I'm
Yeah,
sure I have. I
yeah.
can't think of anything right now, but I'm sure.
Well,
I'm sure there's got to
no
be
one's
something.
asking you to, but we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah,
Um,
just quickly though, like you were
yeah.
talking about like the cabin fever and staying home a lot. I feel that too. Like not just with COVID, but like so in my like early to mid 20s, I used to go out and party a lot. I just go to like gigs and see metal bands. I get really drunk and all that stuff, and then I want to say around like 2013, I went through a bad bout of just anxiety and depression, and I stopped going out and doing those things, and I didn't start doing them again. And whilst I would like to do it occasionally, I'm kind of glad that I don't. I just got sick of doing all that. I don't know. It's like you do it so many times. It's just like, all right, I'm done now. Like I'm not a kid anymore. But yeah, at the same time though, like being stuck at home, it's draining and it's boring and it's lonely. So I definitely need to figure out more like healthier outlets
Yeah.
than well once this is all over and anyway.
I
Um,
think before it's all over, I think it would be a helpful thing
well,
to.
yeah, at least to figure
Yeah.
something
It
out.
may
But yeah,
require a little creativity now,
yeah.
but
Yeah. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but I just wanted to simply say that I understand and I spend a lot of time at home even before COVID. But it's not healthy after a while. It's good for a little bit when you're just trying to
yeah.
like figure yourself out and fix some stuff, but after a while
Well, yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, another thing I've never been good at is proper decompression.
Hmm.
I had to say I'm taking 2 days off this week because if I didn't say it, then I would have just made myself miserable.
Yeah, you wouldn't have felt guilty about it or
Right.
something, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's I mean, both sides of that spectrum
yeah.
is something to work
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I was talking about how I went out and did a normal human thing, had some lunch at a restaurant. But speaking of normal, the government has announced that they will be reopening our internal borders at the end of the month in time for Christmas. The borders have been shut nationwide for, I don't know, a long while now. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a long while. But yeah, every year I fly out to Sydney to spend the holiday with my family, and for the last couple of months, I had kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'd be spending Christmas alone here in Melbourne. But now, I mean, unless something catastrophic happens, that won't be the case. I'm relieved, but also kind of apprehensive. It's very uncertain times, and I'm looking forward to seeing my family and all of that, of course. But anything could happen, Everything could go to shit while I'm up there, and then I'm stuck in Sydney for months if they close the border again.
Well, you better bring your webcam this time.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Which, wouldn't be a bad thing. I'd be with my family. It's not like my mum would be like, okay, well, you've been here for a little while now. You have to piss off now. Like, get out. That's
Right.
not gonna happen. But still, like, I would like to be able to come home at some point. And as much as I love my family, it's after a while you kind of want to come home.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm traveling at the end of December too, so
Okay.
it'll be interesting. We'll have to figure out a schedule.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to pre-record a couple of episodes and release them.
It's interesting.
We'll see what
There's 10 chapters left in the fanfic reading. It's 44 chapters that I started last year.
What are we gonna do when they run out, Ian?
Pick a new fanfic reading?
Oh yeah, of course. All right, cool. But yeah,
We could. There's a whole world of erotic fan fiction out there.
dude, I'm just waiting for the moment we stumble upon like Jack and Ian fan fiction.
I'm in
Maybe
some.
I'm thinking too much of ourselves right now. I'm thinking we're a bigger deal than we are.
Yeah, we're a small podcast. I know I'm in a couple of fan fictions, but
You're
yeah,
in my
that
fan fiction.
doesn't exist
I
yet.
don't
But
know
I
what
was
that
just
means.
saying, like, we could take a turn into the realm of erotic Buffy
And
fan
we could
fiction.
read them like together. Like I could play Buffy and you could play Spike or something. And oh yes.
I probably shouldn't tease if
everybody-
we're not gonna do that. We'd have to officially not be family friendly if we decided to do that.
Anybody listening / watching, if you want that to happen, I want you to harass the shit out of us until we actually do it.
We've
please,
talked
because
about
I want
doing
this
an adults only
Yes.
single episode, and I think
Yeah.
definitely have to do an erotic
Yeah.
fanfic reading there.
The adults only episode will happen. It's just something we have to maneuver probably.
Yeah, I gotta work up the bravery.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care, but
I
it's
do.
definitely something that we have to. Well, like we've already done a lot of planning and talking about it, and for segments and whatnot, but we have to just do it right.
I struggle
especially because
I struggle to say the word nipples without shame, let alone talking about that for an hour. But I
Nipples.
still think it would be interesting.
yeah, and we also want to approach that in more of a like a fun way rather
Of
than
course.
a serious way.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'll be heading up to Sydney for a little while, and so now I'm just gonna slowly start preparing for that, looking at flights and all of that, and you know what? As much as like it is stressful getting ready for all of that, I'm looking forward to getting the hell out of Dodge for a little while, man. It's been a shit year. I want to go
course.
see my family, hug, hang out. My brother and I still haven't finished watching Buffy, so we're gonna do that, and it's just gonna be a good time.
Yeah, man.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm done. So,
Yeah.
like,
Before we get to the fanfic reading, I just want to let you know that I'm Lack of Surprise 1 on Twitter.
and I am at Ian Nitram on Twitter. If you'd like to support the channel and keep us flush in Xanax and hope, wait, you can do so at patreon.com/passionate nerd.
Man, we are nailing this segment. I am so proud of us. Bring it home.
With the $5 and up club, you can join us in the hangout on October.
Well, next Saturday, a week from this coming Saturday, 4:30 p.m. We'll be talking. What are we talking about?
The Replacement, I believe.
Yes, The Replacement.
While we were scripting today, we spent like an hour thinking that it was real me, but it's not.
No,
we already did that.
Yeah, it's The Replacement. You can also grab yourself something from passionofthenerd.com/store. We need some new T-shirts. Oh, we should put up a podcast shirt. With the podcast emblem with the Superman logo on the back. I would wear that. I want that shirt.
Me too. I would like to get something that's got like a caricature of you with me on there, like a cartoony version.
Well, unfortunately, none of us can draw, so we can beg the audience.
I've been looking at Fiverr, and there's some decently priced artists on there that'll do it and allow for commercial use.
I'll give you the company credit card.
Okay, cool.
You can also give us a review, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. Hit the thumbs up, please. It helps.
Yes, it really does.
The algorithms are real, and you might not think those things make a difference, but they do.
Mm-hmm. They certainly do. All right, well...
And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you may not realize it, but you can support us for free by using your monthly Amazon Prime Twitch subscription. All right. Let's end that shit show and get to the fan fiction now. Here is Gone by Terri Botta, Chapter 34. Someone called the Poofter. He wasn't sure who, and he was fairly certain it wasn't Buffy or Dawn. If he had to guess, he would pick Willow as the likely candidate. Didn't matter, really, who called him, only that he was there, comforting Buffy on the night of her mother's funeral. It looked like they were keeping vigil by the fresh grave, although with the way they were sitting, he doubted Buffy even knew that was what they were doing. Trust Peaches to figure he was protecting Buffy by not telling her about vigil and the necessity of keeping watch over a loved one's grave the first few nights after burial. The first night was the most dangerous, of course. That was when the body was the freshest and most useful. The longer the body stayed in the ground, the less likely it was that someone would try to raise it or take it. Almost no one was dumb enough to raise a body that had been rotting for more than a couple of weeks, Willow being an exception, of course, having waited 147 days to perform her resurrection spell. She had been extremely lucky that the spell had worked out as well as it did. More often than not, what came back was a caricature of what had been, and a seriously flawed one at that. It wasn't the first time he had suspected that Red had gotten some help from sources higher up. So there he was, ready to stand guard for Joyce's vigil, and he found himself usurped by Angel the Magnificent, swooping in like a brooding poofter to play the sympathetic hero and get all snuggly with Buffy. Made him want to heave. Trust Angel to show up when Buffy was weakest and neediest, just to rub it in her face that they couldn't be together. She needed a normal life. Angel never could take Buffy when she was strong. Her strength unnerved him. Unlike Spike, who was drawn to and thrilled by Buffy at her strongest. Might have had something to do with Angelus' egoist streak. Even as an unsold demon, Angelus could never stand to lose to anyone or anything. The axe itched in his hand, and he fingered the blade, feeling the sharp edge cut into the pad of his finger. The pain made him wince, but refocused him. He knew he had to stay away from them. Angel was sure to sense his soul, and It was no good if Buffy found out. Joyce's grave was safe for the night. He would come back the following night in time to catch Dawn trying to cast her resurrection spell. In the meantime, he wasn't sure if Angel had sensed him or if Buffy had mentioned him, so he was reluctant to go home. He walked around aimlessly for a while, then ended up at Giles's doorstep. Knocking faintly on the door, he half hoped that the man would be too drunk to answer, but he had no such luck. A bedraggled and weary Giles opened the door and blinked at him. "Spike?" "Hello, Watcher. May I come in?" Giles stepped back, allowing Spike to move past him. "How are you doing? I haven't seen you since," Giles began. Spike placed the battle axe gently down on the table and responded, "Been all right. Killed me a demon. Doc, the bloke I told you about, the one that cut Dawn on the tower." That's good. I just hope you haven't acted too rashly." Spike shrugged. "There's nothing we could have learned from him that I don't already know." He sat down on the couch and hung his head. "Went to stand vigil. Found Buffy there with Angel. Somebody must have called him." Angel is here? Are you sure?" Spike nodded. "Yeah, can't miss him. Mr. All Broody and Hair Gel, snuggling with Buffy, comforting her." Giles retrieved his glasses and cleaned them. "Yes, well, perhaps that's what she needs right now. Lord knows she wasn't accepting any comfort from any of us. Poof likes her weak. Never could stand it when she was strong. Wanted her dependent. That way he could control her. And jealous doesn't like his women strong. Queen bitch Darla was enough for him," he muttered. "Having met Darla, I would concur that she was, very spirited." Spike laughed without mirth. "Wouldn't call her that, but okay." Giles sat next to him. "You look worn. You haven't been eating, have you?" Spike shook his head. "Haven't been able to. Can't stomach anything right now. It's all messed up. Killing Doc helped, though." "Are you sure he's dead? You said you and Xander had killed him before." Spike nodded. "Cut off his head, threw it in the fireplace. Unless his headless body can stand up and pull his head out of a bleeding fire, my guess is that he's dead." "That would seem logical, yes." "Felt good. Used the battle axe I gave Buffy for her birthday. Went and got it. I'll put it back when I get a chance." "I'm sure Buffy would appreciate that." Spike shrugged. "Doubt she'll even know I used it. Blade was clean. She's probably never even taken it out for a spin." "How did you get that axe, really?" Spike snorted. "I killed the owner, of course. It's the only way to get the Gruthlak battle axe." "And you did this how long ago?" "About 60 years ago." Giles sat back thinking. I must say that I'm impressed. From everything I've heard, Gruthlak demons are very strong and extremely difficult to kill." Spike looked away, pain flashing across his features. "They are, but I had an incentive. Blighter was after Drew." Uncomfortable silence fell between the two men until Giles stood and fetched drinks for them both. "I'm no stranger to grief, you know," Spike commented, accepting the bourbon gratefully. "My da and little sis both died before I was turned. I knew loss and mourning clothes well. Thought I was done with grieving, but now..." Giles sat next to him again. "Well, I'm sure the soul is feeling the pain quite keenly." Spike shook his head. "No, Watcher. You don't get it. I grieved for Joyce before I got the bloody soul. First time round, it hit me like an axe in the chest. Feels the same now." He drank the bourbon, glad for the burn of the alcohol, even though it hit his empty stomach. "Can I sleep here, Watcher? Dunno if Peaches saw me, but I don't fancy waking up on fire. Besides, Poof is bound to see the bloody soul and tell Buffy." "Spike, do you think it wise to keep your soul a secret from Buffy?" "Telling her would leave more questions than answers, Rupert. Best not to say anything until the hell bitch is dead." "I will respect your wishes for now, but you do know that you can't keep it from her forever, don't you? Watch her. If I can keep her from taking that swan dive off the tower, I'll tell her everything she ever wanted to know. I'd even sing it. I'd be so damn happy, he replied wearily. Yes, well, I doubt the singing will be necessary. Spike took another sip of his bourbon, ignoring the roiling of his stomach. Why not? Might surprise you. I got a decent voice. We could make a nice duet, you and me, kind of like Sid Vicious meets Barry Manilow. Giles's head shot up, his face indignant. I kindly ask you not to insult me by comparing me to Barry Manilow. Fancy myself more of a Bob Geldof type of performer. Spike snickered. Boomtown Rats? They were a very nice band in the 70s, Giles sniffed. Velvet Underground was better. This from a man who thinks punk rock is a classical musical art form. Ramones all the way, baby, he said with a wry grin, smiling for the first time in what seemed like ages. I want to be sedated, yes, of course. Now, Watcher. You forget I've lived with you. I know your dirty secrets. You've got Ted Nugent records hidden in your closet. How did you... You've been snooping in my bedroom. Spike did his best to look innocent and drank down the rest of his drink. What can I say, Watcher? I'm evil. Of that I have no doubt, Giles answered wryly. Evil, who is out of alcohol. Refill, Roops? He asked, holding up his empty glass. Giles rolled his eyes, but poured him 2 more fingers of bourbon. Shall I put on cream while we drink ourselves into oblivion? The man offered, pouring himself another drink. Spike waved his hand at the stereo. Knock yourself out, Watcher. Giles rifled through his collection and pulled out the album he and Joyce had been listening to during the ill-fated Evil Candy experience. As the guitar riff from the first song came out of the stereo, he closed his eyes and remembered. Spike leaned back against the couch cushions and listened to the music. The glass of bourbon rested untouched between his legs, and he ignored the tears that slid down his cheeks. Jack, what are we up to this week?
Well, you and I... So we started doing a rewatch stream for the...
We did.
For the Patreon Hangouts, and that was fun.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do it again.
I haven't done a lot of live streams. The Bad Decision streams, I loved doing the Bad Decision streams, but I am now 7 months sober or whatever it is, and those are not very conducive to my sobriety, as fun as they are.
Yep.
It's been a strange journey with that. It's still difficult, and maybe for a good long while after 20 years of hard drinking. But anyway, so I was taking a good long break from the live streams for a while and just kind of figuring out what would be a good, effective stream that the community would enjoy. And so we did that on a whim.
It was very off the cuff. Like, we were hanging out. Well, no, we were working. You were scripting, and I was working on a Patreon edit.
Yeah, I said, do you want to stream?
And I was just like, okay, cool, let's do it. And so we did. But yeah, we're going to make it a regular thing now. That'll be Thursday, the 12th of November at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. For us Australians, that'll be, I think, 2 p.m. Friday afternoon.
And we'll be, we're watching the replacement for the following Saturday Patreon Hangout. And the way we do it is, it's sort of the podcast style, but at the bottom under the video is the playhead time code for where we are in the episode at that time. So you can kind of jump to where we are. And the nice thing is it's going to build a little library of reaction content, essentially, because we are not allowed to broadcast the audio into the stream. So it's just Jack and I having a conversation with anyone who chooses to show up in chat.
It's very informal. We're just chilling and watching an episode and chatting.
But the interesting thing is, if you want to have a watch along, buddy, you can go back to that video. They're going to be in a playlist on the channel fire it up and watch along with us again.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that will be on the main channel, not here.
Yeah, those streams are on the main channel. Speaking of, just to make things even more confusing, this week I'm going to give something a try. I have a number of, as we've talked about, New Year's resolutions, some of which were the basis which on this whole podcast was started. And keeping resolutions in a year like this, I'm not going to hold myself to it too strenuously. But there are 2 months left, and one that I really want to make a run at is finishing a novel, a rough draft, first draft of a novel by the end of the year. I have 15,000 words written in this thing that I'm excited about, that has some really interesting ideas in it. I don't know if it's going to be good, but that's not my objective. My objective is to just finish a novel. So it's November. November is the National Novel Writing Month. I put some feelers out on Twitter, and it seemed like there was some interest in me doing some writing sprint streams, somewhat like the world's most boringest live streams that I use to edit during, and people can log in and work along with me while I edit an episode guide. This will be me doing 25-minute writing sprints on the book. And so I'm going to do a test stream for that Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Time this coming Saturday, which is what? Today is we're recording this on the 4th, so for anyone listening to this. And if I get the word target done and it proves to be interesting for anyone involved, then I might do a handful of those during the week in November. Gonna aim for 2 hours or however long it takes me to get 2,000 words for the day written. Jack, any words of advice?
Well, always wipe front to back, and remember that snitches get stitches.
I couldn't have said it better myself, friends. It's moving. I'm not the only one in this family good at conclusions. All right, we love you guys. Please
Peace.
take a breath. Everything will be all right. How will it?
It's gonna be okay.
We don't know. It's a mystery.
But yeah, just keep on holding on, and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
Much love, and we shall see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.